Okay, hello everybody, hello. And thank you for coming along to my moon phase guidance, moon phase workshop, moon phase masterclass, moon phase call, whatever we want to call it. It's a chat with you about the moon phases. So if you can make it live, that's great. I will just launch into it. If you obviously haven't made it live, you'll be watching this on the replay, so that's fine. And if you do have any questions after you've watched it, if you're not here tonight, feel free to message me and I will get back to you as soon as I possibly can to go through any queries that you might have with the moon phases. So let's begin. So the moon phases. So today, what you'll expect is just a little bit about me. I won't ramble on for too long, just a few minutes about myself in case you don't know me already, and my journey to the moon, my journey with the moon. Also, we will be talking about the yin and the yang, which is a massive component to the moon energy, the waxing and waning phases of the moon, obviously the 8 moon phases, tips, tools, and practices that go along with each moon phase. So just so you can sort of get a handle on what to expect at each phase, because they are all very, very different. Like I said, there'll be time for Q&A, or message me if you want to ask me some questions. I'm here to help, and where to from here after the call. So I'm Michelle. If you haven't met me in the flesh, I know there's a few people that have registered that are new to me. So hello, I live in Adelaide in South Australia. I am a Taurus sun, an Aries moon, and Gemini rising. So I've been in human design. I love human design as well as astrology. Human design, I'm a 2/5 emotional manifester. If you know anything about human design, that's my type and profile. So the work I do, it evolves all the time. Truly, it evolves all the time. And at the moment, I'm really interested in alignment work, energy exchange, and doing alignment sessions. I tend to call them that rather than astrology readings, because I don't just want to be reading and translating a chart to somebody. I want it to be an exchange of energies and understanding how you can use those energies that are in your chart, your astrology chart or human design chart. So I like to call them alignment sessions. I'm also a Reiki practitioner. I love doing Reiki, and I really love the moon. And this moon phase course, workshop, call, whatever we're calling it, I'm just really interested in the moon. I just love the moon, and I really want to do one-on-one workshops as well, and also longer programs with the moon as well. So that's why I've got workshops in there. I'm a mum, I'm a stepmom, wife, partner. My Taurus sun, you know, I love the earth. I'm a real big earth girl, earth lover. I'm an astrologer, I'm a creative, you know, always seeking that soul growth. I love reading, writing, learning. That's very much my Gemini rising. I realise now, having learned a lot more about astrology and the archetype of Gemini, and that's my rising sign Gemini. So I am very, very interested in reading, learning all the things, writing and communicating, very much into communicating. I love being in nature. I love stretching my body and deconditioning. That's a human design lingo there. So really just coming back to my true self. And I do that through connecting spirit with matter. So I'm very aware that we live in the 3D tangible world, and making that as spiritual and soulful as possible while we're here on the human experience with it. So this is just me and my little family. So that's my daughter Alira there, my hubby, my beautiful husband Peter, my gorgeous stepson Max. So yeah, I don't know, how long has Peter and I been together? We got Max is 17 this year, and we've been together since he was 3. So for 14 years, it's a long time, isn't it? And Lyra just turned 8 this year. So that's us. We always like to get away, go on fun, natural nature holidays, camping, you know, getting out and about. My hubby's very much a nature lover as well. So we have that in common a lot. So my moon journey, well, I think everyone's always got a bit of an affinity with the moon, haven't we? We all got a bit of affection towards the moon in one way or another because it's so magical and mystical. But for as long as I can remember, I've always been asking questions and looking for answers. And that's very Gemini rising with regards to astrology, and it's also very manifestory with human design, very, very manifestory. So as a young girl, I was always asking the questions that probably shouldn't have been asked. Or not that shouldn't have been asked, but I just asked the questions when others would have like gone, oh, I'm not asked that. I was the one who asked it. So always asking questions, always just interested in learning and wanting to know stuff. So tapping into the moon cycles has really helped me back, guide me back to my true essence and my true self. And as we know, the answers are always in here. They're always in here. Sometimes they're just buried under a bit of shit and a bit of crap. Well, we just need a bit of help getting back to it. But, you know, they're always there. They're always there. And that's all part of the journey, isn't it? We go on one path and then we go on another path and then we go on another path and we all get led back to home in here. So for me, the moon really has ultimately been a guiding light, on my soul growth journey. You know, it's there. It's right above us. It's free, as is all of beautiful nature, the sun, the moon, earth. You know, you just need to tap in and take notice and feel it. So, like, my dad was a fisherman. I'm one of 5 kids. I'm the second youngest of 5 kids, so I grew up in a big family. And, you know, in comparison to today's family sizes, I suppose. But even when I grew up, I didn't know anyone else that had 5 kids in their family. So all very close in age. My mum and dad had 5 kids in 7 years. So I'm the second youngest in that lot. And where was I going with that? My dad was a fisherman. Yeah, so he was very much, he knew the moon. My dad knew the moon so well. Being a fisherman, he understood the tides and he did mud crabs in particular. So he was very in tune with the moon cycles and the moon phases and the weather as well and patterns. You know, and I always remember lying in bed looking out my open window, and we never had blinds on our house, and you know there was always so much fresh air in our house. It just used to, you know, we lived on the ocean, by the ocean, and I don't know, the moon was just part of every night. Like, I always remember it, looking out my window every night kind of thing. Obviously it's part of every night, but I always remember taking notice of the moon every single night. You know, I'm thinking about my dad out in the ocean as well and wondering what he was doing, because he'd go out for a few days at a time and then come back. So it was it's just a beacon of light and a beacon of energy that I absolutely love. So there is another luminary up there. So the moon isn't actually a planet and the sun isn't a planet. They're called the luminaries, but, you know, for the sake of astrology, we call them planets. But they're our guiding luminaries, so the sun and the moon. So we've got the sun, obviously during the day, lighting up our day, and the moon at night, lighting up our night. And here on Earth, we get to embrace and enjoy both of those beautiful guiding luminaries. So the luminaries connect the spirit to the matter. And that's what I was talking about before with the 3D plane. Just, you know, I see a lot of, how do I word this without not saying the wrong thing? Sometimes people wanting to escape the 3D and go to the 4D, 5D and all this other stuff. And you can't shortcut that sort of stuff. Like, we are here on the 3D plane to enjoy the human experience. We wouldn't be here if we weren't supposed to enjoy it. Like, that's why we're here. And all those other realities are fantastic and amazing places, but you don't want to escape the beauty of the actual matter on the earth plane. It's just incredible. We live in the matter. We live in the matter. So the sun and the moon. So let's look at those planets, luminaries, guiding us. So the sun is our self. It's like our self-identity, if we want to sort of go down the astrology way of describing how the sun and the moon impact us. So the sun is the self, it's the divine spark, it's the ego, it's giving of life. It's giving of life. It's the life force, it's a self-identity, and it's the eternal spirit. It's vitality, creativity, and associated with the Father, you know, typically. Then we've got the earth, where we are living in the matter, and then we've got the moon, and the moon is connected to feelings. Mostly people, when they think of the moon, they, you know, and if you know your moon sign, people generally associate, you know, feelings and emotions with that, but there is a lot more that goes into the moon. Certainly feelings, moods, emotional reactions, like how you emotionally react and how you feel through things, your receptivity. It's very much connected to reflection, habits, response, instinct, our lineage, so deeply connected to lineage, our subconscious, and also the mother. So the moon, so you can just see there, like the complete, like different, you know, bundle of expression that comes with the moon to what comes with the sun, but they work in harmony together. The one's not stronger than the other, they work together. They work together. So the moon has an urge to fulfill basic needs. It's very survival oriented. While the sun is the giver of life, the moon is the nurturer and sustains the life. It's so amazing. She essentially is receptive and passive and yin, whereas the sun is a positive yang energy. And together they work in harmony. We've all seen the yin and yang, you know, symbols. And yin and yang, positive and negative, you know, it's the polarities. So I tend to use yin and yang more when I talk about, obviously, the moon, but in astrology in general, or any sort of, you know, of this kind of stuff, rather than masculine and feminine. I just feel the yin has so much more of a receptive, it's so much more expansive rather than just saying feminine. And, you know, I think we just live in a world now where we're moving more towards the yin and the yang, and the feminine and masculine are just sort of, you know, they'll be defunct, whatever, soon enough, won't they? It's the evolution. It's the evolution. So the sun has an urge to express the self. It's the yang. And the moon has an urge to fulfill basic needs. And she's receptive and passive, and that's her yin. So we've got cycles and phases. See, that's fine. We've got cycles and phases. So we've got yin and yang. The concept of dualism or duality. So there's light and shade, there's positive and negative, there's up, there's down, there's a front, there's the back. There's an opposite to everything. There is a yin and yang to everything in life. So the yin, I'll just go through more words again, Gemini rising here, because words are everything, aren't they? They're everything. They're everything. So the yin is being, it's restoring, listening, receiving, nurturing of self and others. Yin hears, yin collaborates. I need to have a drink of water. Yin accepts boundaries. Yin allows uncertainty, and she's light, soft, and flow. So there's just a real, like, you know, to yin, but it's also no pushover. Like, don't get misunderstood that yin is probably not the right word to use, but like, you know, lazy or, you know, just easy. There's so much strength in yin. It's incredible. And yang. So yang is doing, initiating, speaking, giving. purpose-driven, focus-driven from the head and heart. It's assertive, it's respectful, it's strong, solid, and fast. So you can see how they complement each other. If you were just so yin, you wouldn't get much stuff done. But if you were so yang, you'd burn out and you'd feel stuffed quickly. So that's why they're there. They work in harmony together. And this is where we come into the beautiful moon. And the moon, you may or may not have heard of these terms, waxing and waning. So the waxing moon is the first 2 weeks after the new moon, and the moon is waxing. So she's coming up, she's waxing up to full. And there's a sense of eagerness, optimism, and a trusting kind of component that comes with waxing moon phases. So she's coming to the boil, all up here, all the way along here. And then the waning moon, the moon is coming off the boil of the full moon and gradually getting smaller. And it's a real waning, so that's just the term that's used after it's full moon, and then it's waning down. So it's a real consolidating, repairing, maintaining energy. Really, really, both of them, like you could almost feel like that is yang and that is yin, but within this waxing moon phases, there'll be yin and yang within that. And within that waning moon phases, there's yin and yang within that. So you can see how the yin and yang concept is really, it's so complex even within that. So, and when you were born also, you would have been, you get your moon sign. You find out your moon sign when you were born, but you would have been born on a waxing moon or a waning moon, full moon and new moon, waxing gibbous, waning gibbous, you know. So that will have a lot to do with the way you emotionally are receptive to things and how your moods and everything as well. So the moon sign, yes, but also the moon phase of when you were born is incredibly important to the nature of yourself. So the phases, the yin phases, the being phases. So we've got the crescent, waxing crescent. We've got the waxing gibbous. We've got the waning, disseminating. And then we've got the waning balsamic, or waning crescent, some people call it. I like balsamic, I like that name for the waning moon. So they're 4 of the 8 phases of the yin phases. Waxing crescent coming up, waxing gibbous coming up, full moon, waning disseminating, and waning balsamic. And they're yin. And then we have the yang phases. So we've got waxing crescent. Sorry, we've got the new moon actually, which is black, and I haven't put it here because you can't see it. So we've got the new moon, which is yang, and then we've got the waxing crescent, the full moon, and then the waning third quarter. So that's the yang phases. So the 4th one is the new moon. So where do the lunar phases start and where do they end? Well, in its like complete organic reality, the moon really is one seamless circle, and all systems of the moon phase division are human intervention. So in a real sense, the moon is in a bit different phase every millisecond, like now, like she's moving. If you've got a moon app on your phone, you can see the moon percentage of light, and it just every second it's just changing all the time. So it's in a it's in the 8 main phases that we can identify, but it's really in a different phase every second of the day. and it's in a different zodiac sign every 2.5 days. It moves zodiac signs, so constellation, so through Aries, Taurus, Gemini, it moves through. It moves quickly, so it's in a zodiac sign every 2.5 days, and then it's in a different moon phase, approximately one of these 8 phases every 3.5 days. So that's like, so for instance, I'm an Aries moon, and I am actually in a waning crescent moon. I'm at the end there of my moon phase of when I was born. So the moon, but that's why it's so important also to know your time of birth really accurately, like within as many minutes as you can, to be honest, because you could be, you know, just say you thought you were born at 9 o'clock in the morning, but you're actually born at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. The moon could have changed signs during that 6-hour period. So you just, and the rising sign changes every 2 hours. So it's really important to know as accurately as possible your time of birth to get a really good idea of everything, all the placements in your chart of when you were born. It's so important. So yeah, so the moon moves really quickly. It's the fastest moving planet, and it zips around us really, really fast. So that's good. So let's look at the 8 lunar phases. I'll just check. I just got a message here. Sorry, I hope someone's not trying to get into my. No, that's fine. Okay, so the 8 lunar phases. Let's look at the 8 main phases. So the new moon. The new moon. So this is the first phase of the cycle, and it's a waxing phase. So it's the beginning of a cycle. So it's waxing, and it's a yang, and it's doing. So it's a time of metaphorical darkness. Like the moon is, you know, really, really dark in the sky. You can't even see it. And it's a really potent time. There's a lot of instinctive feeling that comes with a new moon. This is the time when you want to make a new moon ceremony, and you want to set the intention, the plan, and create and make your dream come true. This is the time where we plant the seed, hence my little pictures. I'll have a little appropriate picture at each phase. Obviously back people probably still do it now, in horticulture and stuff like that, are very connected to it. And like I said, my dad was very connected with moon phases as well, knowing when, you know, fish were around and best time for crabs to catch crabs and all that sort of stuff on different moon phases, the activity with nature. So there are, you know, certain times to do things to get the most out of something. So a new moon is the beginning. It's a clean state. It's a fresh start, and you plant that seed, set the intention, you plan, create, and dream. And you need to get specific at this time as well, and what it is that you want, And here we need to trust our heart, ignite the fire in our soul, and prepare to hurl into life. It's a very exciting time. Now, my Saturn in my first house always likes me to get the practical side of life into everybody. And there's a shadow. There's a shadow that comes with the moon naturally. Like we can actually see that the moon is, you know, it's light and shade. It shows us the shadow. Like that's what I love about the moon. She is there showing us the light, and she's also showing us the shadow. So with every phase, there's incredible opportunity that comes with every phase, and to really hone in and make the most of that opportunity. But there's also a shadow that comes with it. So if you can lean into it, if you notice and identify that, you know, there are parts of this shadow that you can relate to, and that is what the moon does, because she's a cycle and she goes through phases. She goes through cycles, and therefore she shows habits and repeated behavior. So it's a good thing. It's a really good thing. And she is there. She's incredibly healing, and she's incredibly helpful to release negative behaviors and limiting beliefs and things like that. Like, she's just there to dissolve and assimilate and integrate, and she's the nurturer. Like, she helps you through the shit. So, but you got to work as well with her. You can't just wait, give me all the goods, hello. You've got to work together with it. So the shadow with the new moon phase is, do I want to go that deep? Don't I want to just stay with the status quo? Far out. Setting these intentions, can I actually even do that? Like, really? Who am I to ask that? All these things. And or it can be like a time when you're really mistaking wishes and fears for reality. So what I mean by that is putting all the dreaming in, but not doing it. And there could be a level of naivety or vagueness with your intention as well. So that's why you really need to get specific with your new moon intention. And just, I find a lot of people also freak out that they haven't done the right intention or whatever. And there's throughout the phases, I'll show you where you can course correct and all that sort of stuff throughout the moon phase. Like, it's not the be all and end all. But if you don't work through the cycle and work through the phases, it'll just repeat itself for you. Next year, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years down the track, you'll just be keeping doing the same thing because you're not rejigging it. So there's definite flow that comes with it, but there's also that amazing, insightful shadow that comes with it, which helps you break through and evolve and get through to the next stage. So I'm going to use the analogy of planting something, because that is like all about, visualizing and seeing things. So we're planting the seed, and we're going to plant, cucumbers. I like cucumbers, so let's plant cucumbers. And I haven't planted cucumbers before, actually. Have I? Well, maybe years ago I did, but let's just say cucumbers. So we're planting cucumbers. So we're putting faith into the ground that we're going to plant cucumbers, and we'll do our best to reap the rewards of these beautiful cucumbers. So we've planted the seed, we've put it in what we want. We've got specific, we've gone out on the new moon, we've had our ritual, and also just on that with rituals and things like that. With regard to rituals, they mean whatever they mean to you. You find out, you put meaning to anything. You are the one who puts meaning to your reality. So you can do all the things, you can do all the crystals and have all the tools and props and everything. And that's all amazing. And it's really sacred, and it really sets a scene, an emotion and a mood. Or you don't even need it. You just need you and the moon. Like, you don't need it. You don't need it all. But if it helps you get you in the mood for it, use it. Like, I don't use it all the time, but I've got like my sage sticks, which I love. I use that more for clearing techniques before I see clients and things like that, and just to clear energies in the room and things like that. But I use it in my house as well. Sometimes I just feel like I want to sage my house and home and things like that in my office. But you can use actually, that's not sage. It's melaleuca and eucalyptus. It's beautiful. It's a native botanical stick, which I will be reselling again when I get my online store ready again. So that I use tapping sticks as well. I love these. And I use these when I do my Reiki. So I love my tapping sticks. I use that to speak to the moon. To speak to the moon. Like, it just gives a clear cutting through energy to it. You can use, this is just that my husband plays musical instruments, so he's got all these other bits and pieces. So this is just a shaker, and that's a really good thing, just to, clear the way if you want to. And then, of course, you can put your crystals out, use your essential oils, whatever, whatever floats your boat with a new moon ceremony. It's such a personal thing. And there is no right or wrong way to do it. There is just your way to do it. So just do whatever feels right for you. Journaling. Where's my journal? I can't believe I didn't leave. Oh, here it is. Is so my little moon phase journal, is so important to the moon practice and going through the phases. So, you know, I've got a page there for each phase. So the new moon, beginning the vision of something, and we're setting the intention, whatever it be, you know, and just keep it short, sharp and simple if you're new to this. But the important thing is just to do it, you know, just to do it, just to do something. And don't be hard on yourself if you think, if you do it, because I've done this before over the years. I've done one and I'm like, I'm not going to be able to do that. Oh my God. And, you know, self-doubt and everything. But I just watch throughout the phases, and I've learned to take notice of different things that show up throughout different phases and how it evolves into whatever it evolves into. So that's the new moon phase. I think I've talked enough on that. It's a big one. It's a big one. It's a big one. So it's the beginning of the cycle. So it's, even though it's very quiet, but it's yang and it's doing. We're not sitting around, you know, waiting to receive. We're initiating. It's an incredibly initiating cycle, phase, the new moon phase. We're really setting the intention to initiate what we want to come in. So there it is there, okay? And then, like I said, the shadow of that is, you may question yourself, do I really want that? I'll just stay where I am. Just give it a go. Do it. Trust yourself. Trust your intuition. Trust yourself, and do it. So let's move on to the next phase, which is the crescent moon phase. So I can hear my daughter. I think she's about to come in here. Possibly. No? Okay. No. So the crescent moon phase is the second phase. So we're waxing and it's yin. Okay, so we can see a little bit of the moon now. We're 3.5 days into the moon cycle. We can start to see a bit of the moon's light coming through on that crescent light. So we begin to start to see some light of the moon, and we're really feeling into our intention. We're 3.5 days into our intention, probably every night or every morning, or at least once a day, we're reconnecting with that intention, and we're really familiar with it. It's only been 3.5 days, but it's really been embedded through that yang energy just before, and that positive, you know, upbeat, gonna get things done energy. And now we're moving into the yin, waxing, still that optimistic energy, but it's yin. So you're just a bit lighter. You know, you've taken sort of the mental thought about the intention setting, and we're really feeling into it. We're really feeling into it. We're breathing it, we're cultivating, and we're embodying rather than waiting. So this phase, this waxing yin crescent moon phase, is actually paired with the new moon phase. These two phases are paired together. So I'll show you, they come in together. So we've just had a yang, and now we've got a yin, and they work together. Okay, they work together, the phases in couples. So we've got faith now. We start to develop our faith, or have our faith, and we know and we cultivate, we nurture and we care. So that hose there, watering the plants, still haven't seen anything, still just seeds of cucumbers, hopefully, under the ground, but we're really starting to nurture it and get it ready to get going. So this shadow side of this waxing yin phase, there can be an impulse here for too much action. Like you can almost be probably even a little bit impatient at this stage, or there could be too much action and you could be overwhelmed. So this being the first yin phase, it is such an opportunity to start to see how you do yin. So that's what the moon phase is amazing for, really, to see your yin and yang. But you can really learn about your yin and how you do yin. Yes, we're in the waxing moon phase as well. So there's, you know, that coming up to the boil, but we're in yin. So there's patience and there's a pace to this phase, okay? So lots of nurturing, lots of care, cultivating, and still working together. Okay, and this is where embodiment really comes into it as well. So and feeling into your intention. So that's the waxing yin crescent moon. Just need a little sip of water. So the first quarter moon, so we've had these first two phases, so we're about a week into it now. And here we come into the first quarter, we're back in a yang phase. So if you're journaling, you'll probably notice at this stage all your energy is starting to ramp up a bit again. Be interesting to see how much energy you expelled during that first yin phase, okay? But your energy will naturally start to zip up a little bit during this yang phase. So the first quarter moon phase, it's a real good time to take action, to have commitments, to have courage, trust, adapt. So at this stage, you probably will notice, and over the time, as I've done many moon cycles, this stage is when usually disruptions present themselves. There'll be interruptions as well. So it's a really important time to support yourself and such an important time to build a solid framework, establish roots. You got to get your hands a bit dirty here. So, it might call for a group effort to get something done. Your will, fortitude, and courage is, it can be tested at this stage. So there's that essential drive and that yang, which will get you through this stage. And this phase is paired with the next yin phase, which is the gibbous moon phase. So I think when you know that the phases are paired together, like you've got that yang, which always, comes first, and then you've got that yin around the corner. You've got that yang first quarter. Things are starting to take action here. It's starting to get a little bit, and challenging, but you've got that yin just around the corner. Just knowing that is really, really good. So the shadow, me and my shadow, the shadow is the path to enlightenment, my friends, and the path to your evolution and your soul growth. It truly is. And I don't say that lightly. Like, I've done an incredible amount of shadow work in my own personal life that is, it's taken decades to work through certain things. And it took that long because it needed, it was deep. It was really necessary to work through things thoroughly and properly for me to move through that shadow, to move through it. So I certainly don't put any, the shadow work, it's fucking the shadow work. Okay, so, and with this one, this is where a little doubt might creep in, fear, a sense of giving up, like already. You might think, God, we're only here and we're not even at the, up here stage of the full moon. But it does. This first quarter moon can really present fears and doubts, a sense of giving up. This is just all too hard. It's really hard. There could be tension, concern, and a real self-sacrifice kind of feeling. So if those sorts of things do surface, it's interesting to journal on them. Instead of giving up, just maybe rejig. Don't give up. Like, just, this is what I was talking about, course correcting and just changing the lanes a little bit, like rather than just giving up and going, oh yeah, that intention was just too much and this is failure again and whatever. Just shuffle it a little bit, just change it a little bit, because that's where the moon is helping you work through those shadows to get through to the other side. And then the next moon cycle, and then the next moon cycle, and the next moon cycle. It all perpetuates on top of each other. So it is a really it's a challenging time. It's a challenging time, this first quarter. It truly can be. It can be challenging. So it's such a good time to build frameworks and journal as well. Really, really journal. And and just rejig if you need to, reevaluate things if you need to. So see here, like the plant, it's just starting to break through the soil and come out and have a little bit of like, woo, like that's hard yakka. Like it's been planted, it's been watered, it's developed some roots. Here we are building the framework, establishing roots. It's developed the roots and it's like going, I'm coming, I'm on my way. Wait for me, I'm coming. It takes time, you know, it takes time. It's emerging and it's starting. It's not finished yet. It still needs, you know, it still needs support. It still needs support, but it wants to. It wants to. It wants to come out, doesn't it? It really wants to. So let's move on to the next stage, which is the gibbous moon. So we've got the new moon. Hopefully you can see my cursor there. I'm sure you can. The new moon, waxing crescent, the first quarter. So yang, yin, yang. And now we have got the waxing gibbous moon. The gibbous moon. The waxing gibbous moon. And we're back at a yin phase. Back at a yin phase. So very, very important time to trust and be mindful. You still might have to readjust things. You might have to get creative here. You might have to welcome support. You might have to get curious. You might have to look at different ways of doing things. You might need teamwork to help you co-create what you need to create. See that tractor now is in there? I think he's watering everything, isn't he? That's what I thought. That's why I picked it. But he's, you know, everything's growing and it's growing, and you know, we need the tractor now. Don't just need the bucket with the holding it. We need a little bit more help here now. But we've got our, you know, we've got our foundation set. We've got a little bit of, you know, structure and framework set, and we're getting there. We're getting there. We're not quite there yet, but we're getting there. We've got some help as well. We've got some help as well. So it can, this phase can also be a little bit like, a little bit, you know, a little bit anxious. Here we are. We'll look at the shadow, shall we? While I say all this sort of stuff, you can start to have a little bit of anxiousness as well. And you can actually be too compromising at this phase as well. So you can tend to sort of lose sight of the intention as well. You can get off track, unsure. It's a different kind of one to the previous one though. This is more sort of just like a blasé kind of like, oh, you know, it's kind of, yeah, a sense of vulnerability as well. And just, you can be really, boundaries are really tested actually at this phase. I find boundaries are definitely tested at this phase. So once again, this is where the shadow work is really, really good to identify, because that's where you see where the sort of the gaps or whatever, if you want to sort of call it that way, I suppose, are to getting to the intention. And, you know, also put in your journal as well, like all the good things you've done, like, you know, the readjustments that you've made, the people that you've met along the way. You might have got a phone call, you might have had an opportunity arise, there would have been an opportunity for teamwork, whatever. Like, you know, I could have met someone who's grown cucumbers for 15 years and they've given me some tips and advice on how to grow my cucumbers, and you know, that sort of thing. Like, and honestly, it's the simplest little things that you think, oh, that's only significant, but they're so significant. They're so significant. As I've done different moon cycles, I find in these waxing phases, I get phone calls and meet people and have different opportunities present themselves that present a whole new possibilities and for me, and different, you know, things for me to explore and learn and create. It's been really interesting. This gibbous moon phase as well. It's a really nice time to get new insights as well from people who have sort of been there, done that, like, you know what I mean? Like, so wise kind of feedback and stuff will generally show up at this stage. Been there, done that kind of thing. Like I said before, with phone calls, or I've discovered books and things like that which have just helped me along the way. So just note all those sorts of little things down. It's really, really interesting to do it. So again, a really good time to revisit your intention, an excellent time to meditate during the waxing gibbous moon, like such a powerful time to meditate during that moon phase. It's wonderful. Really good time to have some self-care and look after yourself during that phase. So we've had the new moon, the waxing crescent, so yin, yang, yin, and then yang, first quarter, yin, waxing gibbous. And then we're at the full moon phase, the full moon. So the full moon, so she's opposite the sun. So the full moon is opposite the sun. It's shining bright. There is no hiding in the shadows. It is all revealed at full moon, like it's all there, and it's shining its light down to show us and help us to let go, and also to receive the abundance as well. So full moon is a yang phase. It is actually classified as a waning phase, because we're waxing, but as soon as, like I said before earlier, the moon moves in cycles in its different phases, like every second. So it's at the full moon, and then it starts waning. So we're waxing. We're at full moon, and then it's waning. But it is a yang energy. It's a yang energy. So it is the time. It's the culmination point. It's the culmination point. We've got our fruit, and guess what? I didn't grow cucumbers. I grew tomatoes. I must have had to course correct and change things along the way. See how stuff changes? Still good though. It's still good, but yeah, that's good, isn't it? So it's the culmination point, and everything is clear, it's full, and it's obvious at the full moon stage. That's why I worked in the banking industry for a long time, and I also worked in hospitality for many, many years before that. And there is truth in full moons do send a bit of wild energy out to certain individuals, and it can certainly have a real powerful effect on some people. That's where the word lunatic actually comes from, is from the moon. So some people, they really, depends what moon phase you were born in as well. But some people can really, really, we all obviously feel the energy of the moon, but it can definitely trickle down, and, people behave differently, don't they, to other people? So, but it doesn't make you do anything. None of the planets make you do anything. They're purely just a reflection of things. So anyway, where was I? The full moon. It is, it's clear, super clear. Everything is so clear. It's full, it's obvious. What was previously felt is now seen. So there's a readiness to it. There's a fearless energy to it. Oh, a few typos in there, haven't I? And we are living. We're flourishing. We're dynamic. We're force. We're a force. We're ripe, and we're to be enjoyed. So it has been made manifest. There's revelation. There's fulfillment. There's absolute. There's a feeling of moving ahead or let it go. So that's where you do see a lot of people with full moons talking about let it go and release stuff. And that is true. Like, most definitely use it as an opportunity to let go, but also use it as an opportunity to really embrace what you have made manifest as well, and use it as an opportunity to move forward. Don't you know, give the moon so much hard work to to do sometimes. Like really enjoy the fulfillment, like, and enjoy what you have made manifest and what you have made ripe. Enjoy those tomatoes, even though they're not cucumbers. You know what I mean? Like, enjoy the fruits of your labor. Like, enjoy it. And live. Like, that's, the full moon is about life and living. Like, it's really, really good. So let's look at the shadow of the full moon, which you think like, well, there is no shadow to a full moon, but there is, because the light is shining bright on everything. So it's really hard to escape stuff sometimes at a full moon, because it is so penetrating with its light and its ability to shine the light on things. So there can be a sense of separation at a full moon. There, you know, it can be a negative time for some people, almost even like entrapment, a sense of paralysis. This all sounds pretty full on, and I do put it in here purely because of, I just want, you know, you can process it however you want to, but I just didn't want to sugarcoat anything, and I didn't want to sort of, I want to show how powerful the moon is for the ability to rise above stuff and to help you work through things and dissolve stuff. So that's why I've put these things in here, and I've certainly felt a lot of this stuff as well over the time, and it's a real tool. So just always know, if, like I said before about with the journaling and repeated behaviors, that's what the moon does. It shows us the repetition, and it shows us cycles as well. So, you know, if there's something that you want to let go and release, it's an amazing time to do it at a full moon. Amazing time. So, you know, there can be a sense of disassociation, overly dramatic, sensitive, highly sensitive at a full moon. So even just knowing these things, if they don't really apply to you, understanding that other people could feel this way as well. So, you know, I do tend to give people a bit of a, you know, benefit of the doubt at full moon time, because it can be certainly an intense time. So, and like I said before, you can observe repeated subconscious patterns and behaviors at a full moon. You really can. It's such an amazing tool for doing that. So the full moon, she works in conjunction with the disseminating moon. So there's the full moon yang. And like I said, always remember there's a yin to follow the yang. There's always going to be a yin to follow the yang. It's the duality of light. It's the calm after the storm, you know. It's like, well, the calm before the storm. But there's always, you know, a balance. There's always going to be a balance. It will always balance out eventually. But the key to all of this is working with the energies and working with your own duality as well. So that's the full moon, the wonderful full moon. So then we come into what's called the disseminating moon, or the waning disseminating moon, or sometimes it's called the waning gibbous moon as well. I like disseminating moon. I like that name of it, actually. So here we continue to receive the fruits of our labor. It's a really great time. So we've had the full moon, and then 3.5 days later, we're now into the disseminating moon. So it's such a wonderful time to receive or continue to receive. Like, you don't just eat one tomato and then, you know, get rid of the rest of the tomato bush. You enjoy the rest of those fruits. You enjoy the rest of the, you know, what you've put in to get that. So you continue to receive and, you know, be thankful for it, honor, respect, be thankful, receive with gratitude. So there's a real acceptance with this moon phase, and a real sense of surrender, I find, as well. And it's also a time, like, maturity builds at this phase as well. So it's a real, it's certainly a real personal growth time, I think, for the waning disseminating moon, or waning giver's moon. You can get a lot of perspective at this time. You can get a lot of understanding. You can, you know, just look back on the full moon and just see, you know, what happened and the behaviors and the patterns and the thing, you know, this, how it all unfolded. So that's when it's such a yin, obviously. So it's such an excellent time to relax and take time to feel, accept, surrender, and all that builds. It all builds wisdom, really. That's what it really builds. The shadow side of this moon, so it can actually, you know, there can be regret at this stage as well. I didn't get the thing, I didn't, you know, it didn't work, this, that, whatever. A real sense of, it can be depression, that's supposed to say. It can be a depressing time for some people, and a sense of like wanting to go inwards as well. Sense of loss. There could be like a desperation, even a selfishness, or an inward battle. So these, you know, words, again, I was talking about the shadow side of stuff, and I hope well, no, I don't hope. I, like I said before earlier, I put all this in here because this is where the growth happens, identifying in all of this stuff, or recognizing this stuff and breaking through it. And I think, you know, all those words in the shadow that I have mentioned the whole time, you know, we can all relate to certain times when we felt those certain ways. And if you can pinpoint it in with the moon cycle as well, it's such an interesting exercise to do for yourself, and just call yourself out as well, like really call yourself out and be gentle on yourself, and, you know, and just recognize it, you know. And you've got also the positive way to spin off on that as well. And it's, you know, I'm not saying coming out of depression into acceptance and, you know, being thankful is like going to go from that to that. Like in the it takes support, and it takes time, and it takes, you know, it's a process. But I'm just planting all these seeds here to help you with the whole journey. So this waning gibbous moon or disseminating moon, it can be those shadow feelings, but it can also be such a beautiful time of surrender and accepting and realizing. So if you have been journaling, you can realize where you've come along the way, or what you've done, or those opportunities that have happened along the way, and where you did things right and where you might change things next time. So that's it's such a nice reflective time as well. Such a nice reflective time. So we'll go into the third quarter now, which is the waning yang. So we've got yang, yin, and now we're back into a yang phase, waning moon, so yang. So this one, did I talk about the, oh yeah, I talked about the fruit, didn't I? Yeah. So this one, this is, it's also receiving as well, but it's also giving as well. So receiving with an open heart and giving with an open heart. Sorry, my nose was just itchy then. And it's a real time for finding balance, hence the, you know, the moon looking as it does as well. It's such a balancing act on those quarter moons, the first quarter and the third quarter. It's a real, you know, it's a real bit of a juggle. It's a real reorienting time as well. It's a time for self-inspiration. So the waning, all of the waning phases after the full moon phase, there's a lot of self-inquiry, I find, that comes with these phases, and the waxing phases is a lot to do with the other. That's just my personal perspective on it. And the waning phases are a lot more inward, and, you know, also, you know, getting help and support, but it is a real inward inner inquiry with it all. You know, we're finding balance, we're reorienting, we're picking up the weeds, you know, we're getting the weeds out, we're getting everything out that has died off and is no longer, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. It's time to say goodbye, and it's time to have graceful endings and not be attached as well. It can be a really nice time for solitude if you're in a healthy space for that, but it's such a nice time for solitude to create the void to allow the inspiration to flow in. That's what I find. It can be a real transformative time and such an opportunity for inner work, a really lovely time. It's got that yang energy and strength behind it. It can be very poignant time, the third quarter waning moon. So, you can just imagine, you're in the garden and you're doing this, you're not watering, you're not watering the seed and waiting for it to all germinate. You're cleaning up, you're cleaning up and you're picking out the weeds and your hands are getting dirty and you're thinking about, if I probably could have watered it more or put this fertilizer in, or, I'm not going to get that brand next time. I'm going to get that brand of seeds, or actually, no, I'm going to get seedlings this time and I'm not going to grow from a seed, and, all that sort of stuff, and saying goodbye gracefully. Like, graceful endings really do happen at this stage. So whatever you released at the full moon, if you were doing that sort of work with the full moon and releasing and letting go, this third quarter waning phase, it will probably, let's talk about the shadow then with that. So there could be a sense of stubbornness even, or a power struggle within that may present itself. There can be an ignorance or sloppiness or laziness even with this. So you can imagine if you didn't clean up the weeds. If you didn't clean up the weeds and you didn't, rejig the soil to get it ready for the next cycle, the next new moon, and if you just let things, be as they are, and everything transmutes, I know, and goes back into the earth, but if you didn't tend for it, that's what I'm more or less saying, if you just neglected it, it wouldn't quite be complete. It wouldn't quite be complete. So it also there can be a power struggle within this as well, and a tendency to maybe cut corners and near enough is good enough kind of thing with it. But just know that there's a yin phase coming with this after this one as well. It's a really productive phase, this one. It's very, very good, really good time to find balance, reorient, start thinking about that new seed that you're going to plant. How can I do things differently this time if you want to do things differently, or it may work really well the same way, or you've got new grand plans that you're going to do. You really do turn a corner at this phase. You really do. It's a great phase. And now we're in the last phase, which is the Balsamic waning phase, or the waning Crescent phase, which we're actually in now as I film this video, because we've got a new moon coming up on Saturday. Let me see my date. Oh, can't see that, can I? So on Saturday. So we're in the Balsamic waning Crescent phase at the moment. And see, just standing there and it's all gone. But there's a real sense of like peace in that picture. I love it. I just think like, wow, the peace in it is really nice. So it's such a healing time, a restful time, reflecting, restoring, just walking around the veggie patch going, it was a really good season before and we're ready to do it again. But also taking a moment to really acknowledge where you've been and what you've done, and there's a real like deep knowing towards the future now. So it's a very very healing, resting, reflective and restorative time, that yin, and realizing that all comes to seed at this phase, and this becomes the foundation for the next seed. So what I was saying before about leaving the stuff and just letting it fizzle out, like that's the preparation for the next phase. So if you're going to be sloppy and, like what I was saying up here before, just this can be a tendency to be lazy here, that will stem through onto this phase as well. So it's such an opportunity, this phase, for like to ascend and descent. So the circle is actually closing, like it's coming to a full circle now. It's so interesting because We're renovating our kitchen finally, finally. And we had our old kitchen gutted today, like removed. And I'm just like, it's such a perfect time for that all coming out, like all that old kitchen coming out, and it's all at this waning balsamic end of the cycle happening. And then we're going to get the new kitchen. It's starting on Saturday, so it's going to start on the new moon, and it's just like, oh, it's just, you know, and I actually didn't time any of that. That was all out of my control, like with, you know, builders and people sanding floors and, you know, getting appliances and all that sort of stuff. It's just all perfectly led to the moon phase cycles. It's amazing. When you start living in tune with the moon and all those little idiosyncrasies and stuff that happen, it's not a fluke, you know, none of this is a fluke. It all happens for a reason. It all happens for a reason energetically. So the waning balsamic moon, it's such a sense of the circle is closing. Like, you can even feel it when you start following the moon phase. You can really feel the different energies in the air. So there's clean, definitive endings at this phase. Like, it's the end. It's the end. It's the visionary, the wise man, and the crone. You know, those archetypes. It's all the mystic as well would be in there as well. Yeah, and there's a real deepness to this phase as well, real reflective as well. So the shadow that comes with this phase is there's possible imbalance here. It can be like you can lose a little bit of a grip on reality, like, and there can be a sense of like defeat and, you know, like impossibility and just at a loss. And you can't even see, literally, can't see the light at the end of the tunnel because it's pretty dark. It's getting dark and it's only getting darker. So there can be that real, even a sadness, I think, to it as well. So, but, you know, I was born in this moon phase. So I think maybe that's why I gravitate strongly to like shadow work and stuff like that, and finding the ability to find the light in the shadow. Like, yeah, I love this phase. It's just so, it can really set you up for the next new moon. Like, it can really set you up. So I do understand that it can have that real nostalgic kind of feeling to it, but, you know, just, it can also have a wonderful opportunity and reflection. Like, just reflect back on your journal and see, you know, what you did throughout the whole thing. And don't flip out if you only wrote, you know, the new moon intention and then you forgot the whole moon phase. Don't worry, just start again. That's the beauty of the moon. It's always going to have a new cycle. There's always going to be a new cycle. So don't be hard on yourself. At least you're watching this video and you're like, you're actively, you know, applying and trying. So that is wonderful. Like, that is the best thing ever, to be honest. And you're learning about yourself and you're evolving and you're growing, and it's so cool. It's so cool. So that's the last phase. So the full moon was the yang, and then the waning gibbous or disseminating moon, yin, they work together. And then we've got the third quarter, and then we've got the waning crescent or balsamic moon, the yang and the yin, and they work together. So we're in this phase now, and yeah, so just, you know, it's a really nice time to heal and rest and reflect during this phase. Wonderful, really, really wonderful. So you do find your flow through the phases. And if anything, you can really identify your yin and your yang and how you do that. And look, I understand, like, I work for myself and I work with my husband with his business. So, you know, I am in a very fortunate situation where I work for myself and I don't have that accountability to somebody else, to report to somebody else, to go to meetings and, you know, do all this stuff, which is out of my control. Like, you know, I have worked in several jobs over my lifetime where I didn't have that that freedom to do as I wished with my work. So I understand, you're going to be doing things in yin phases where they may feel more yang, but in your own personal life, like if you work for someone in a corporation or whatever, and it's very, yang output, do this, schedules, meetings, deadlines, and all that sort of stuff, just really in your own life, like with your own boundaries of your social life or your home life, if you can have those boundaries within the yin phases to really have time to yourself, or however you best have your yin flow, and identify your boundaries within yourself. So I'm not saying we're all lunar living and we're all just in tune with the moon, because we live in the 3D plane and we're living in the human experience and we're living with people. So so paying attention is so important. Journaling, so important. Journaling is just so important. Embodiment, so what I mean by that is actually doing stuff as well. So doing the thing, journaling, making the phone calls, doing the thing, but also slowing down, doing the thing, being. So yin is very being and yang is very doing. So when you're in your yin and your being, the embodiment would be having the boundaries with yin, very much so. And, just saying that you can't, if you don't feel like it, go out for that boozy Friday night where you're just like, oh my God, I just want to, sit at home and chill out and pat my dog and have a cup of tea and some toast and watch TV. And if that sounds much more exciting to you, then expelling energy and socializing, understand your yin and yang output. Okay, so that's where I mean with embodiment. So the moon shows us our patterns and cycles. It also helps, with our intuition and our decision making. Obviously, there's free will and we do what we do, and it's our choice on what we do with our life, or how we do what we do, but there is, your intuition is your own, like you, and it's always there, and the moon helps you, guide you back to your intuition, and that's where the soul growth happens. That's where the growth happens in your soul. So there's mind, our beautiful intellectual mind, which is very helpful, but it doesn't rule the show. There's mind, body, our beautiful vessel that gets us through this life and, helps us operate on a day-to-day basis. And then there's the soul, which is the essence, which is, it's why you're doing what you're doing, what ignites your soul. And that's where the soul growth happens with, I find, with following the moon cycles. It's just incredible. So it is an ebb and flow. It is a journey. It certainly is a journey. There's ups and downs, which we just went through before. There's yin, there's yang, there's light, there's shade. So it's a complete journey of ebbs and flows, of feeling, embodying, and evolving. And it's very, very cool. It's very cool. So where to from here? So you can explore your cosmic connections with through having an alignment session with me. You can book that through my Instagram page on my Linktree. I'll be getting my website up in a few weeks. And we can go through your sun, moon, and rising sign in detail, and also your human design foundations. So that's an alignment session. Like I said, I don't know how my sessions will evolve over time. I'm currently feeling I'm learning astrology more to help people align to, their soul essence, rather than, like, I don't just want it to be a reading. That's why I call it a session. I don't want to call it a reading, because I'm just reading something to you and you walk away and you go, I want you to apply and understand you in your, for your life. So not sure that's how it looks currently at this stage, but I love human design. as well, so I incorporate that into the alignment session. I am going to be creating a moon phase journey. So it's actually a 3-month, 3 lunar cycles. So you can register your interest with me if you are interested in doing that. And we'll go through 3 months of the moon. So going through one moon phase is good, you know, when you're just starting to get to know things, but actually following 3 moon phases together with support and guidance along the way is really incredible. So that's, hello? Oh, okay, yep, just come in. I'm just on my call still. Okay, hi, Bub. Did you want to say hi? Okay, night, darling. Night. My little darling girl going to bed. So yeah, a moon phase journey, 3 lunar cycles. So that, I feel you could get a real depth to lunar living through that. And that's why I'm thinking about doing that. And join me on my Facebook group, my private Facebook group, my Instagram page, or join my mailing list. So just some words I asked everybody when they, all the people that signed up for this call, I asked words that they thought of when they thought of the moon. And, you know, these are all the words. And, you know, the moon, she's magical, she's beautiful. And I think I've pretty much covered all those words in this call, actually. Yeah, she certainly is a powerful force. She has patterns, cycles, ebbs, flow, lunar yin, flow, feminine, water, wave, cycle. You know, you can see them all there, and they're all such nice words, aren't they? Such beautiful thoughts and feelings connected to the moon. She's just so supportive. Like, she's just like, I look at the moon and I'm like, man, you're just there to, like, look at that. You're just there to help us. Just there to help us, like, in a real nurturing way. Whereas the sun is there to help us, but to help us just forge on and, you know, give us that life force and that energy. But the moon, because she comes out at night in that beautiful shadow time as well, she's subtle. Like, she is so subtle and so powerful. Incredible. So if you want to get your astrology chart, you just go to these free places, free websites to get a astrology chart, astro-charts.com or astro.com. They're really good chart resources. Or to get your human design chart, go to My Body Graph and Jovian Archive, and you can go down the rabbit hole and find out, you know, try and find out all this information about your chart, or you can have a call with me. Have a session with me, and I will help you, guide you through your cosmic connections. I'd love to do that. So if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out and ask me. I am more than happy to help. I love this stuff, and I am really enjoying what I'm doing. So that was my presentation. Thank you so much. I've kept it under 90 minutes, just under, which is wonderful. And yeah, I will now stop share. Let me see, stop share. That's me. So thank you so much for watching this video. Like I said, I just have a real, I just have such a love of the moon. And I think, you know, the more people tune in with her energies, you know, you really can find a lot of flow, a lot of peace, a lot of support, and a lot of, you know, these words get used so much, but abundance. Like, honestly, she is there to support and help us. So we just need a little bit of know-how on how best to go through the cycle. And I really hope that that helped you. If, like I said, if you're interested in working with me further, please reach out. I would love to support you somehow. But other than that, I am going to stop the recording now, and I hope to see you either in my Facebook group, via email, on Instagram, or in person if I know you. So thanks again, and happy lunar living. Bye.